A lot of people don't realise what they're involved in. Just the simple fact of using credit cards, using smartphones and all of this automated system is the problem. People don't realise what it is. This time is so important in what's happening to humanity. I think we've been given a choice. We can go in either one of two directions, and we really have to put down the fear and realise that the choice is ours to make. A lot of people aren't seeing that. They're waiting to be saved, and I think that's a big problem. And get ready for the big storm, because it is coming, folks. You know, you've got to really be prepared for this. And I think we're going to get through it. But I think it's just going to be a process. It's going to get a lot uglier yet. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just up to you to stay strong and stay focused through this period. And again, a lot of people write to me and say, well, what about my son? What about my daughter? What about my siblings? And these are good questions, but ultimately it's a personal soul choice for every single individual through this time. You do what you can for those around you, but you also do what you can for you. And no matter what you do for others, it's still going to come to that point where they've got to make that soul choice, and they're the only ones who can make that choice. So this is a time when everybody needs to find their own personal strength, their own personal individuality, and to believe in themselves. To realise, sure, we're all one, we're all connected, but at the same time, we are completely alone, we're completely individual. It's a separate experience for each one of us, So you've got to be prepared for that. I do what I can to help people around me and to help others. That's why I do this, that's why I do what I do, to try to help the world wake up to themselves. But ultimately, when it comes to that moment, it's my choice, it's my soul choice. And no matter what information I've imparted to other people, when it comes to that moment, it's their soul choice. I can't make that decision for them. You can only help people so far. People have to be able to help themselves. Sometimes I think people even come into the matrix in order to provide you with a situation where you'll be given a choice as to whether to be selfish, whether to be compassionate, whether to put yourself before others, whether to put yourself on an even keel with others, whether to... there's so many different aspects of life, and I think that certain things come into play. Imagine if, the whole concept of non-playing characters and stuff like this. People that just come in there, like when you're playing in a game and there's certain individuals you interact with in the game which create a scenario for you to go on and improve yourself with. I think it's like that for everybody. So you've got to understand it is an individual thing. I was out in the forest with my mother, and first time I'd ever been to the forest. And I said, "This is incredible up here. Let's come and live here." And she said, "Well, we can't live here." I said, "Why not? There's nobody else living here." And she said, "Well, we don't own the land." I went, "Own the land? What do you mean own the land?" And she said, "Well, you've got to own the land." I said, "Who owns the land?" And she said, "The government owns the land." I said, "How did they get it?" And she said, "You'll understand when you get older." I was shocked when I found out that we actually had to pay to put a roof over our head. We actually had to pay money to buy land. You think people thought they could own a part of the earth? I was horrified by the whole thing. So I kind of sat back and I just watched from there, and I thought, this is a madhouse. This system we're being led into is the New World Order in itself. The 5G smart grid is the New World Order, the Internet of Things. It's the New World Order. People don't really understand how that works, but what it's about is monitoring every single aspect of your life. The smart grid is being presented to people as this thing that's going to be highly beneficial to us. You'll only be using the electricity that you use, you'll only be paying for that, all this sort of stuff. So it's been presented as a really positive thing. But what it will do, it will put a dollar value on absolutely every aspect of your life. So that every time you turn on a tap, credit goes. Every time you turn on a light, every time you watch your TV, every time you boil your jug, every time you do anything, there's a dollar value attached to it. Stay strong through this, folks, and keep your focus on where it should be. try not to move into hatred. It's really important that we don't do that. I mean, I've said so many times, if people simply respected others, we could change the world in a day. If people realize that there's only really two emotions, love and fear, and that everything we do needs to be centered in love. If we could do that, if we could just let down these barriers that people have with each other, we could literally change the world in a day. And even with all this stuff that's going on, all these, I mean, like I said, they're programmed. You can't hold it against them. You can't hate them. And I get angry as well. I do. I get really angry sometimes, and I have to express it. But we can't become that which we're fighting. It's really important that we don't do that. It's really important that we keep our hearts centered, because that's what's ultimately going to bring us through. And if we could center our hearts in the right energy to begin with, we wouldn't have to do anything else. We could literally change the world in a day.
It's very hard to live in a state of empathy in a society that's based on monetary gain. This is why money is used. This is why material wealth and class and social division is used. All of the tools that they use are used to divide us. Every single thing that is in place, the education system, all of it, everything, this entire structure of this society is designed to divide this consciousness, to divide the people.
There's an interesting TV show that came out a couple of years ago called Black Mirror, and they had one episode of that where everybody, the only job they had was running on a treadmill or spinning a bike and just to accumulate credits, and they had to pay for every single action that they performed. And that's what the smart grid is. That's what we're being led into. And it's all about digital currency and control of everything. And if you're someone who lives a slightly alternate lifestyle, say you grow a few vegetables and you give some to your neighbours, or you do a little bit of massage for someone, or you do a bit of tarot reading or something like this, the only way you're going to be able to get paid for that once the smart grid comes online is through the transfer of digital credits, which means the government will get a tax. You'll have to put it on your income tax, or everything will be monitored. That's what it's about, complete blanket surveillance of every single action people are doing. This time is so important in what's happening to humanity. I think we've been given a choice. We can go in either one of two directions. And we really have to put down the fear and realize that the choice is ours to make. A lot of people aren't seeing that. They're waiting to be saved. And I think that's a big problem. People have to realize what's happening and embrace it themselves. I think a lot of what we're seeing here, I mean, humanity is right on a cusp at the moment. We really could go in either direction. With all the technology that's coming online, it's all very well to think that, well, this can just free us. But unfortunately, people's hubris may get them into a little bit of trouble, because you've got to take into account the fact that the world is run by criminals who simply don't want to free us. And that is currently who's in control of a lot of the technology. So it's time for people to really step up to the plate with this and realize that we have to start embracing this ourselves, and we have to be the ones that are pushing in the direction that we want.